Welcome to our council meeting this evening. This is a regularly called and convened Greer City Council meeting. Having duly assembled, I'd like to ask Councilman Charles Lender if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation. If you'd like to join us, please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to serve our community. We ask for the wisdom, humility, and discernment as we discuss matters before us tonight. Help us to listen respectfully, lead with integrity, and make decisions that serve the best interests of all our residents. Give us patience in disagreement, clarity in difficult decisions, and a spirit of unity even when opinions differ. May we never lose sight of the people and families who are impacted by the decisions made in this room. God bless our city, our first responders, our employees, our businesses, and every resident who calls Greer home. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Council, in public forum this evening, we have got 4 speakers. We typically limit content or the opportunity to speak to about 3 to 5 minutes, if you'll be cognizant of that. That will respectfully give time for everybody that wishes to speak an opportunity if they would like to do so. What I would ask is that as I call your name, that you come to the podium. That way we'll have a record of your comments. And if you would, please give us your name and address, and the floor will be yours. Elizabeth Pittman is our first speaker. And so the floor is yours, Ms. Pittman.
A little nervous here, sorry. Good evening. I am Elizabeth Pittman, and I reside at 15 Hidden Springs Lane in Blue Ridge Plantation. This October will be our 20th year residing there. When we purchased our home there, it was our forever home, and things have changed over the years, a lot due to the economy, so I do understand that. However, I'm here tonight to oppose Enchantment's desire to change 7A from commercial to residential, and I'm new at this, so forgive me for being nervous. I have quite a few concerns. We came last week to the planning meeting, and a main concern is traffic. Up by 7A is near Ridge Crossing and Milford Church Road. It is a very dangerous intersection. Lots of traffic, a lot of speeders. Lots of accidents happen at that intersection. So that is first and foremost the priority for me. Secondly, our neighborhood is not what it was intended to be. We were to have a township there. And again, I realize things change. However, I do oppose townhomes or apartments, or I don't know what Enchantment desires to build there, but I think we as residents have a right and a say-so, especially when I'm a longtime resident. And in my original papers that I have here that I was given to about 20 years ago, The amenities were in where 7B is now. So last week it was spoken that they wanted to move it from 7A to 7B. So anyway, my papers show that tonight from the original plans, and it could have been changed, and I'm just not aware of it. Another big concern of mine are our lack of amenities. We have around 600 home sites out there now, and we have one small pool. And right now, DHEC only allows 61 people in the pool itself. So right now, we cannot accommodate the amount of people that live there currently. And we have not heard anything about plans for future amenities there. So I feel very left out. And again, I don't have a right for the development, but I am a long-term resident, and that was our forever home. And so I have concerns there that we're not going to get what we've been promised. So that's the gist of my proposal here. So, and I don't know if any of you have ridden through our neighborhood, but it looks pretty trashy right now with some undeveloped areas. And I don't know why other areas that look bad can't be developed first instead of 7A. That is the most beautiful part of our whole neighborhood when you come in. So that is a huge objection for myself as well. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Ma'am. We appreciate it. Ray, and I am going to take a stab at Zelinsky.
I'm Roy Zelinsky.
Roy.
Live at 10 Hidden Springs Lane. We've lived there for about 16 years. Quick question, show of hands. How many of you councilmen have been in Blue Ridge Plantation in the last 3 months?
3 months.
You need to do that before you decide to make any changes to the original plans that Elizabeth just spoke of. A long time ago, if you remember the cartoon Popeye, and Wimpy always said, I gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. And over the years, the various developers, owners, whoever, have always said, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday if I can change this, if I can build a townhouse here. I'll gladly build your pool after I can build some more townhouses where something else was supposed to be. I think before the council approves any other development, that it's time to pay, today's Tuesday, before anything else gets changed. So.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker would be Susan Gage.
I think I just might echo everything that has been said so far, but I do hope whoever makes these plans takes into consideration the investment all of us has put into our neighborhoods. Want to keep them beautiful, and I hope that you consider that.
Thank you, ma'am. And last but not least, Donna Zelinsky. Well, we really want you to come to the podium, please. It's a matter of keeping a record. Thank you.
Okay, so when we moved here in 2010, we were given a whole different proposal of what we were looking at. Obviously, you all know that. I used to work for a pretty big sign company here in Greenville, and I pulled a lot of permits with the City of Greer. So throughout the years, I feel that records had been lost or changed. They weren't kept in place. And so meetings that I would go to, well, yeah, we didn't, there wasn't a record of that. And so it got changed, just snap of a finger. So, and I don't know. I think these contractors don't live in our neighborhood. They don't know what we want and what we were promised. I mean, go to our pool someday. It's a joke. So, and that's what we're living with. So, anyways, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Council, we've got several meetings to approve council minutes of, so we will go through those. I'll take them individually. First before us this evening is the meeting that was held on May 12th, 2026. This was the council workshop meeting. Minutes are contained in your packet. I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any items of note for the clerk? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Lander,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, that same evening, May 12th, 2026, we assembled for a council meeting. Those minutes are contained in your packet. I'll entertain a motion to receive
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
Floor is open for any discussion. Items for the clerk. Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Lander,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb.
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, on May 14th, we convened again for another workshop. This was a council workshop in regards to, I believe, the budget minutes contained in your packet. I'll entertain a motion to receive
So moved.
and a second.
Get a record. Second.
Any items of note for the clerk? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Lander,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. I'm going to ask the administrator if he'll join me here in the front, please. Typically sitting beside y'all in church rather than sitting in front of y'all in this forum. So, caught me a little off guard this evening, but welcome. Scott, would you join us up here, please, sir? We are going to make a presentation to Scott here in just a moment. Certificate of appreciation for his time with the City of Greer, but it is as they say sometimes, a long and winding road to get there. And Scott joined us as a volunteer from 96 to 2000, he retired full-time in 2000. And other than leaving for a few months, let's say around 2011, 2012, he went to work for the Florida Annual Fire Department in support of the war of Afghanistan. He has worked for the City of Greer full-time since being hired in 2000. That would mean that Scott has given the City of Greer more than 28 years between his time as a volunteer and a full-time employee. That, I want to present to you this evening a certificate of appreciation which reads, "Congratulations upon your retirement from the City of Greer, presented in appreciation of 29 years of dedicated service to the City of Greer from July 1996 to November 10th and August 2011 to June 26th, to Raymond Scott Tompkins." Join me in a round of applause.
The city's been great to work with. I promote them. I'm on several different teams throughout the state, and I promote the city all the time, trying to get good employees up here to work for the fire department, and so that the city has been nothing but stellar, especially after this past. That was awesome. That was awesome. Congratulations.
We have a rather lengthy meeting tonight, and I am trying to keep us on track, but also we've got a number of items that we're going to have to deal with this evening, so maybe taking a little time or more time than usual to keep us on track here. We want to thank Scott for his years of service. Certainly been a big part of our fire department, and I know you guys are going to miss him immensely. So good luck to him as he has retirement plans. Council, you've got your departmental reports contained in your packet. Department heads and/or the administrator will be glad to help you with that. Our financial activity report is brought to us by Mr. Klein. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Financial performance summary as of April 2026. Starting in the general fund, we had a cash balance of $27,076,000. Year-to-date revenues of $50,590,000. Year-to-date expenditures of $46,523,000, and currently 1% under budget. We had a favorable revenue benchmark variance of $3,270,000, an unfavorable expenditure benchmark variance of $2,513,000, for an overall favorable benchmark variance of $757,000. Moving on to hospitality fund, we had a cash balance of $2,700,000. Year-to-date revenues of $3,362,000, and year-to-date expenditures of $3,280,000. Finally, stormwater fund, we had a cash balance of $4,453,000. Year-to-date revenue of $1,540,000, and year-to-date expenditures of $983,000. With that, be happy to stand for any questions.
Council, floor is open. How are tax receipts tracking at this point?
We've collected probably about 95% of them, so for majority, yep. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Others? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mr. Merriman, your report, please, sir.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I know Mr. Tompkins has already departed, but when I got here, I was a member of Leadership Greer, and he was one of my classmates in Leadership Greer. And it was just a great experience for me in general, but getting to know Scott in particular was just a lot of fun. And if y'all know Scott, he's just a lot of fun. And so we are definitely going to miss him. Mr. Mayor, Council, as you know, Greer is constantly growing, and the Planning and Development Department believes that you should not only be informed, but involved in that process. So with that, we are proud to announce the launch of the Building Greer Together dashboard. This is a new public-facing dashboard intended to give residents, business owners, developers, community partners, and other stakeholders a real-time look at rezonings, annexations, and other development types across our city. More information on that is going to be available on our website. One of the year's kickoff events for the 26th Annual BMW Charity Pro-Am is happening right here on Trade Street, Sunday the 31st from 11 to 3. Enjoy a day of live music, food trucks, vendors, a kids zone, and more as we get ready for a week of golf and charity. So don't forget Party on Trade. And again, the farmers market, which is always popular, is this Sunday, May 31st from 11 to 2. So, and that will be in conjunction with Party on Trade, so downtown should be hopping. Mr. Mayor, with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I have a question for, can you give us an update on the completion of the Kids Planet that I thought we were already supposed to be completed, and half of it's been blocked off for several months now?
Thank you, Mr. Airwood. I had a conversation with John this morning about the status of that project. Right now, we are getting the sod brought in to do the sodding that we need to do. There was some fencing still left to be put up and the irrigation finished. Once those are completed, we hope that by not this week, but the end of next week, we should have those items completed.
2 weeks.
That's correct.
Council, are we ready to move to appointments of boards and commissions? With that, then, the Board of Architectural Review has two upcoming terms expiring. Ms. Linda Wood's term will expire on 6/30/2026. Betsy Potter's term will expire 6/30/26. I've been apprised that both ladies would like to continue to serve on the Board of Architectural Review. I'd like to nominate, or I would like to have someone nominate Linda Wood for another term on the Board of Architectural Review, please.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion in regards to her appointment? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Lander,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, I'd like to ask that someone nominate Miss Betsy Potter, please.
So moved. Second.
Second. Any discussion or questions in that regard? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Lander,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, let's move to Boards of Zoning Appeals. In District 1, Emily Tsumalegu, term will expire 6/30/26. Do we have a nomination in that regard?
No, sir. You have not heard, if you put out anything? Yes. Okay. Okay, just give me a call, please.
All right. District 3, Nick Uploads.
Mayor and council have received word Mr. Yuva is not going to be able to continue due to professional obligations, young children, and he also serves as the HOA president in his neighborhood. I do have a couple people in mind, hope to have somebody perhaps even at next meeting put forward.
And District 6, Steve Griffin.
Should know something next meeting.
Thank you, sir. With that, then, let's move to the next board, which is the Greenville-Spartanburg International Airport Environs Planning Commission. Our Spartanburg County representative is Miles Nason. His term expires 6/30/26. Any update in that regard? I will reach out on that one myself, so we will defer that one as well, too. Council, let's move to items of new business this evening. Ms. Duncan, no items of old business at this point? Item 1 before us is the first and final reading of Resolution 13-2026, a resolution of the City of Greer Council, City of Greer, adopting the City of Greer Housing Assessment and Strategy Report and endorsing the strategic recommendations contained therein. I believe there has been some comments forwarded to me and the administrator that this is a pretty deep dive in terms of the amount of information before us in regards to the presentation that was made at our last meeting. I think that this might be something that we want to give council a little bit more time to study. Does that seem appropriate, council?
Yes, sir.
With that, then, I'm just going to ask that this item be held over and scheduled for, let's say, first meeting in July. Okay. With that, then, we will move beyond item number 1. Item number 2 is the first reading of ordinance number 15-2026. This is an ordinance to change the zoning classification of certain properties owned by Tasali Property LLC located on East Gap Road from Design Review District to Office Professional. Ms. Cotty joins us for that discussion. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a rezoning request for 2 parcels, a little under 24 acres total. This is related to the annexation request that I brought forward at the previous meeting for the small square piece fronting East Gap Creek Road. It is currently approved for a townhome community as design review district, and they are requesting to rezone to office professional. Here's an aerial map. Again, it is located near the middle school, high school, and Brookside Farms community. The zoning map, again, shows that it is currently design review district. It is adjacent to rural residential. Again, schools are often in that R20 or rural residential with a special exception. And then the future land use map that calls for suburban neighborhood. I will note that institutional, cultural, civic uses are listed as a secondary use as appropriate in the future land use plan. And then here is a picture of existing conditions on the site. So again, the request is to rezone the 2 parcels to office professional. It is currently surrounded by residential and undeveloped, middle school and high school, and then again, a lot of undeveloped county land. The comprehensive plan calls for suburban neighborhood, and this is compatible with that. Staff does recommend approval. Planning Commission held a public hearing last Monday evening and also recommends approval. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, ma'am. Council, for the purpose of discussion, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Second. Floor is open.
Kind of, if I remember right, with the annexation, this is event space, that type of thing. Is that the intended use?
Yes, I believe event space / museum.
If I remember right, the gentleman has like a shooting range in the area, but it's in the,
Yeah,
I guess like
Partial to the west.
that is
to the
correct.
left there,
The
the
house
timber.
that he has under construction is in this area. So he owns all of this land as well, which is located in the county.
got it.
The parcel we brought into the city, I guess that rectangular, I was out there today.
This?
Yeah, is that a house, like a residential structure? I was trying to get lay of the land there. Is the lots next, does it kind of fall off?
It
pretty?
does. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It is a current residence.
Now, this being next to the school, have they been made aware of the intent of the property?
Yes, I did speak with the planning staff at Greenville County School District before our annexation meeting.
Did you sense any hesitations on their end?
No. They did say they'd run it up kind of the flagpole to make sure there were no concerns with the specific use. But they did indicate that institutional and office zoning was appropriate.
Do you feel like it was just kind of, they weren't necessarily prepared for the question, or was it, did they have some background knowledge on it when you discussed it?
They didn't really, so
Yeah.
we had a conversation about, they saw signs, out there, so wanted to know intended use, so we did discuss it. But I have not heard back from them with any additional concerns since that
Well,
meeting.
since us speaking this afternoon about this property, I did call a couple of our school board representatives, especially the one that covers my district, and they expressed strong disinterest in having this type of product next door. I just want to put that out for the record that they did express they were not.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, as with everything, we have to take folks at their word until proven differently. Now, I did get a phone call too, and it's the folks right across the street. They just didn't want townhomes. And I said, no, this is what the developer and the owner have indicated they wanted to do, and he was aware of that, no issues with that. But from what I was told, what he intends to do is a weapons museum of antique weapons, which would include World War II.
World War I, World War II weaponry, yeah.
Okay. And I know that when we voted on the annexations, there was some no votes. And am I missing something? Because I don't know why a museum, especially from a school board, would be an issue, unless I don't know something else. Is there other information out there that, besides what we've been?
I feel like, and others can chime in if my suspicions is different. I think there's a perception of firearms, ammunition being next to a school kind of counterintuitive in that discussion. I mean, if you go back to the 90s where you had Columbine High School and things of that nature.
That didn't come from a museum, though.
Yeah.
I understand the sentiment surrounding having that type of access to kids next door. I just think it just didn't jive in people's guts. And anyone else can chime in.
Yeah, I will, because, look, a museum. And do remember where we live. We're in Greer. Every house around there has at least one weapon. Most of them have a collection. So it's not like you got to go far to find some guns in Greer.
This guy just happens to have a bigger collection.
Yeah, he probably does a better job protecting it than the people that have one or two. I mean, he's got some investment there.
As a side note, there is a cannon for sale in Greer. It has a for sale sign on it. It's off Buncombe Road, so.
But, I think it's a positive thing.
Yeah,
We get something on that land, that's paying some taxes. It's some event space, and there's always need for event space in this town, it seems. City, let me correct.
That's a lot of property for something else. It's a large parcel for just a museum, so
Yes, it is. Yes,
I would
it is.
assume there would be other development there as
Well,
well.
he said it was gonna be a museum and event space, so I would assume the building,
Okay.
the structure's gonna
Yes,
be
that's
pretty
right.
large,
Right,
yeah.
right. I got you.
Big.
And I mean, having
Pretty
that
good
kind of,
footprint for the building that he mentioned, right?
From what I've seen, it's It's a pretty small percentage of the overall property, but they'll also have to have adequate parking. We haven't seen full civil plans. I'm not sure if the applicant can comment on that. I believe based on the planning commission discussion that it'll be 2 stories, that the event space and museum space will be divided on the top and bottom, and then about a third of it's also dedicated to storage.
Now, in this situation, we're going from DRD to office professional, and I don't want to flippantly just say we're okay with just flip and flop zoning, but what is there some type of extenuating circumstance that, or was this project what kind of pushed the motivation to change the zoning here, or was this project, they just didn't see townhomes feasible? Like, I'm just curious from owners to rezoning to, just looking at that.
Sure. It was rezoned to DRD back in 2021, and they do have approved site development plans, but that project's been inactive for over 3 years at this point. So I don't have any insight on why.
Was it different owners or
Particularly?
the same current owner?
No, it's been sold.
Okay.
He
So-
he owns the business, he owns the property, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So by show of hand, is the owner of the property or representative of the owner of the property with us this evening?
No,
Thank you.
he was here last meeting.
Council, questions?
Mr. Booker, can you expand on the feedback that you got from the school district? I don't see it giving any access to weapons or ammunition. I just see it, if anything, as an educational opportunity.
I don't know if, have they voiced some type of gun safety educational component to the museum? I know when we spoke first about this, to one of the school board members, they mentioned how they had to fight in South Carolina to get resource officers added to schools. The funding of having, those folks on site. It's just, from a gut reaction, it just didn't sit well with them to, you fight to get ammunition, guns away from an area, and then you just bring, a museum here to right next door.
Well, I want to be very sensitive to those sentiments and respectful, but I would say, educating about World War I, World War II weapons, it's a far cry, in my opinion, from giving access to weapons or anything that way. But
From a security standpoint, being so close to the school, I don't know if they've got live weapons or anything, and wish the applicant was here to ask them a little more in detail. There's no, worst case scenario, no kid jumped the fence and they can blow off cannons or anything, right? It's possible,
I would assume they have.
Yeah,
They-
I'm pretty well
they don't
sure. I'm pretty well bet
Most
against that.
museums don't have live ammunition.
Plus, we had, in the same vein of that question, but taking an opposite approach, we have and have had gun stores that's all they do is sell guns and ammunition. We have other retail vendors who sell, besides the other goods, guns and ammunition. I don't, I think that a museum is wonderful. Now, I guess, well, no, if somebody wanted to put in mercantile or some kind of retail, that would be a different zoning, right? It wouldn't qualify under.
Some retail is allowed. There are separation requirements for sale of firearms from schools, though, so I doubt they would be able to meet those requirements. We did do research into that.
And I think it's, you start, when, hopefully a school board member didn't say this, but when you fight to get weapons and ammunition away, you start treading on the Second Amendment, and we don't want to go down that road at all. I don't think so.
Comments? Questions? Any further discussion in this regard? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Earwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
No.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Lander,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, the third item that we have before us this evening is an ordinance to change the zoning classification of a certain property owned by Germain Fluens located at 111 Albert Street from commercial general to traditional neighborhood and to remove the downtown entryway overlay. Ms. Cotty.
Yes, thank you. This is a zoning map amendment request for rezoning. It is currently zoned commercial general. They're asking for traditional neighborhood. Here's an aerial of the property. Again, it is close to the South Line intersection. And then I'm going to spend just a second on this slide to explain. So this property that fronts Albert Street was recently subdivided from this piece that fronted South Line. So it was one parcel, and they now have a property line right about here. And so now, again, this piece just fronts Albert Street, which is primarily residential. So it is surrounded by suburban neighborhood. And then again, this is the downtown entryway overlay map. The UDO established 3 overlays: our downtown core, our downtown transitional, and then our downtown entryway, which falls along the frontage of several streets that lead into and out of our downtown, like Arlington, Poinsett, South Line. So with this request, we're also asking that that overlay be removed. Again, because it was part of one parcel, it was automatically applied to the entire parcel as part of that
Okay.
zoning process. So again, now that it's not fronting South Line, staff doesn't feel like those extra architectural standards are as appropriate. So there's 2 requests. One is to go from commercial to residential, and the second is to remove the overlay as part of that request. This is the future land use map. This entire area surrounding downtown, you can see in the top corner, downtown living, and then the surrounding area is all designated as traditional neighborhood. This is a current street view of the existing conditions. And then again, the request is to rezone to traditional neighborhood and take off that overlay. It is surrounded by a variety of residential. To the rear is retail, that's a food truck. The south is retail gas station, and then again to the west is more residential. Staff does feel it's consistent with the comprehensive plan and surrounding zoning and uses, so we do recommend approval. Planning Commission held a public hearing last Monday evening and recommends approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. For the purpose of discussion, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Floor is open.
What is, with traditional zoning on that small of a parcel, is it one home that can be built?
Yes,
or-
it's not large enough for a duplex, so
Okay.
it would be one single detached home.
And just for reference, you had a land use map that you showed that showed it all as traditional neighborhood, but then when you went to the east-west, everything
Yes.
was suburban.
Yes, so this is the zoning map. So most of the surrounding, so the gold that you see on the right is traditional neighborhood zoning, and then the taupe color is suburban neighborhood zoning. All of the traditional neighborhood, that is our future land use map.
Future, okay.
So future land use is kind of vision, zoning is the actual teeth and enforcement.
By show of hand, is the owner of the property or representative of the owner of the property with us this evening? Are you available for questions if they arise? Okay, thank you. Others? Questions? Comments? Further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Lander,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, number 4 is the first reading of ordinance number 17-2026, an ordinance approving a major change to a planned development PD of certain real property in the city of Greer related to the Blue Ridge Plantation development. Ms. Cotty?
Okay, thank you. So council doesn't see a lot of these requests, so just as a reminder, Plan Development, or PD, and Design Review District, or DRD, are specialty zonings that allow for some flexibility from the ordinance, now the UDO, when this was established, the zoning ordinance, in exchange for creative, flexible, mixed-use districts. So back in 2002, this original development for Blue Ridge Plantation came before council to establish that zoning district. It has been changed a few times. In 2006, they came back and added the lakeside portion of the community, which is north of Gross Meadow Road up here. But in total, it is over 400 acres and a maximum of 1,347 residential units. When it came forward in 2002, the intent was a 41.5 acre zone, which at the time was Zone 7, for a town center. It was envisioned with a church, variety of retail, institutional, amenity uses. So finally, in 2021, they came forward with a major change. This is mostly because a new developer had bought the entire project from Mr. Bruce. And most of it stayed pretty similar, but we did enact triggers for the amenities and for the trail that's going throughout the community. So we did put in place some parameters that once they hit a certain amount of build out, they had to put their amenities in before additional residential. Another part of that major change was splitting up Zone 7 into 7A and 7B. And so again, 7 in the 2002 forward was the non-residential zone. During that 2021 major change, 7B was allowed to be a mix of detached and attached homes. So it would be including townhomes. And so again, what was left is 18 plus or minus acres in 7A designated as non-residential uses. So amenity, commercial, institutional, et cetera. So again, here's their phasing plan. We are really focused on Zone 7 tonight for this major change. So here's the zoning map. The gray properties that you see are PD. At the time, it was PDR, which was Planned Development Residential. Again, that would be known as a DRD today. So what you're seeing up there is Stillwaters, Blue Ridge Plantation, and O'Neill Village. And so again, the zoning at the time for PD was to encourage innovative, creative design, to permit greater amount of flexibility, promote efficient use of land, and ideally the development should be large scale, incorporate a variety of land uses and land use types. It also encouraged developments that provide residential to have a full range of product types. Our future land use map does call for suburban neighborhood up in this area near the lake. And then here is sort of a summary of the changes. The first is to the statement of intent, and sorry, for those of you who are a little newer to council, DRD and PDs, when they are adopted, they adopt a statement of intent, so kind of a list of rules for the development. as well as a site plan. And so their statement of intent is adopted as part of the ordinance. So it is what rules that development, and anytime the statement of intent doesn't specifically say anything, it would revert to what's in the UDO. But so the statement of intent very specifically called for the amenity center to be located in Zone 7A. So one of the requests is they are asking, instead of 7A, for it to be located in 7B, and that is for sewer access. Staff does not have any concerns with that request. The second is to allow for up to 121 residential, that includes detached and attached units in Zone 7A. And so that is in this area. So that is the one staff has concerns about, and I'll come back to that. The third is to then redistribute units among other zones, but not to exceed the total for the whole development and the density that reigns. So the approved density of up to 4.37 and the number of units would not change. They would just be distributing those in other locations. Again, staff does not have concerns with that provision either. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about 7A and 7B. Again, 7 was in the original statement of intent, all supposed to be non-residential. Already, as part of that major change in 2021, that area was cut into almost half. So staff has some concerns that this potential major change could open the door for there to be no commercial. The language would say residential and commercial, but there's no minimum acreage, minimum square footage that would have to be residential. So that would open the door for almost the entire area that was designated as, commercial or town center to be now residential units. One thing I also want to point out is in Zone 7B, there were to be up to 195 units, both attached and detached. They would be spreading those out to be, it would be about 235 between A and B. But that could result in a net increase of townhomes of 40 from that original major change. So again, the PD does encourage mixed product types, and we have previously allowed for some townhomes, again, to sort of transition between the commercial and the amenity, and then all of the rest single family. However, we did receive pretty significant public comment from our new portal that Mr. Merriman mentioned, public comment at Planning Commission, and then here again tonight that residents in that community are opposed to additional townhomes. So, and this is just the redistribution of units that I mentioned as the third change. I can spend some time on this, but again, it's a very minor change. It would be spreading out units, but not going over the overall total. So again, the request is to revise the statement of intent for the three changes that I mentioned. This request is a little different because it is consistent with the future land use map and what the comprehensive plan calls for in this area, which is suburban neighborhood. However, it is not consistent with the intent of the zoning district, which is PD or plan development, which calls for mix of uses. So that is why staff did not feel comfortable making this decision as a minor change and why we brought it forward for public hearing before Planning Commission and City Council. So I would say if council is comfortable with making this change, not having as much or setting a minimum of commercial, I'd also potentially recommend having a cap on attached housing too, if that's something you wanted to consider. So staff does recommend denial. Planning Commission held a public hearing last Monday night, and they also recommend denial. And again, most of the residents that came to speak had concerns about amenities and townhomes. And I am happy to answer any questions you may have. I know this is kind of a different request, so I wasn't as structured as I normally am, but happy to kind of go over anything that you have questions about.
Council, before we proceed, by show of hand, is owner of the property or representative of the owner of the property with us this evening? Okay, are you all available to answer questions? Yes? Okay. With that, then, for the purpose of discussion, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Floor is open for questions.
Ashley, you said there's a list of triggers.
Yes.
We've heard from a lot of people here today that a lot of amenities that were originally proposed have not been built. Are we anywhere near some of these triggers?
Yes. So the 2021 amendment put in the trigger for the amenity center, which was comprised of an Olympic sized pool and clubhouse, among others, at 50% of the build out of what was left at the time. So we do a lot of math, but basically they have 1.5 zones left. Because right now they've built out 3A, so that is half a zone. So if they were to proceed with 3B, they could do 3B, and then they could do one additional. So either 4, 5, or 6. And I believe they're going to be doing one of these, again, to get access to sewer for that amenity center.
Okay.
And again, staff doesn't have any concerns with moving the amenity center to 7B. So they have submitted for Planning Advisory Committee. They'll actually be going before that group this Thursday. So they are proposing an Olympic-sized swimming pool, a clubhouse, pickleball courts, and a playground. And so they are very aware that staff will not sign additional final plats until that amenity is in place, once they hit that 1.5 zones.
And that's proposed to be in 7B, is that correct?
Yes, currently it is, right about here.
Okay. And if my memory serves me correctly, I believe at the end of last year, you guys voted on Zone 4 as well, right? Which is the orangish, that one.
Yes, the preliminary plat for it,
Okay.
yes.
Have they already submitted that to?
So yes, 3B, 4, 5, 6, and 10 and 11 are all under review. I think 4 has been approved, SDP, but they don't have a grading permit at this point.
You mentioned something about 4.37.
Yes, so the statement of intent, again, in 2021, had a maximum number of units and a maximum density, which was set to the R10 or TN. And so that's what the density cap would be. But they're actually under that. I think they're actually closer to 3
That's
for the overall development.
per-
3 units
units
per
per
acre.
acre, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I know this subdivision has had, and this is an understatement, a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And I heard loud and clear what the folks said tonight, and it resonates with me because if we go back, council, to where we have private or gated subdivisions, we say, okay, if there's gated subdivision, they're not city roads, we don't pick up city garbage, that kind of thing. And then we will start getting pushback from residents, hey, we want this, but this is what you know, and maybe they'll say, well, we weren't aware of that. This is the opposite. We've got the residents who have been told, and it may be by another owner, but it's still part of this entire development, that there were going to be certain things. And it's hard for me, for someone who's been there 20 years and is expecting certain things, which does affect I guess, the financial, not soundness, but it does affect your finances. It does affect your property value, that kind of thing. And so I'm inclined to say no to this request because, there's been a lot of things that we as the city have had to do to get things done there. And I think it's just proper to say no to move forward as is.
Well, we like to say that we build communities, not developments. Currently, we don't have much of a community feel with just one little pool for 700 homes, which is pretty sad. I know it takes a long time to build a development this big, but I'll leave that at that. Andy, I have a question for you. I asked during the last meeting about Ridge Crossing Roads. Now that I have you and Mr. Hamby somewhere out there, so Ridge Crossing Road does have issues with people just flying on it. How can are we legally allowed to patrol that road since it's a private road, or are we not allowed to? How does this work?
Well, I'll let Chief Hamby opine on, the jurisdictional issue on Ridge Crossing Road. But as far as a practical matter, it is a private road that City Council has not accepted into our inventory.
Okay.
So if Chief Hamby wants, or I'm gonna put him on the spot, but I'm gonna put him on the spot.
He's good on the spot.
Thank you. We have probably periodically, maybe every 3 to 4 years, we'll get a push for more enforcement, more monitoring of that area. So we have put resources out there at various times. Seems to be effective. It is tough to sustain it on a regular, continuing basis. But we have done some speed enforcement, and we've used our speed trailers up in that area as well over time. So the problem is you have police presence for a while, and then you got to move on to the other locations all over the city, and then guess what happens? The problem kind of reoccurs. So so that main Spine Road, is that the name of the street?
Yeah,
I'm
Ridge
sorry.
Crossing,
Yeah, I mean, it's downhill. It's a long, wide
up
open
line,
area with
yeah.
no houses on that section. So just the way that is laid out and built does sort of facilitate the challenge of see how fast I can get my car going, because there's nobody here. I might as well just put some speed on it. So I don't have an answer. It's just one of those things we can make a temporary effect, and then it kind of goes back to where it was. So
Do we have the jurisdiction, though? I think that was the
Yeah,
main question.
like
We have
since it's a
jurisdiction.
private road, how does that work if I give them a
Yeah.
speeding ticket on a private road?
yeah, so I think that's what I was talking to Lieutenant Forrester about. I know we've done some enforcement, which I think we're legal with that as far as stopping cars. Now, as far as writing tickets, that gets to be a challenge. So I think we've used more warnings in that area.
Okay.
To Mr. Lander, to that point, from a jurisdictional, I think you heard the answer, and I would, in my experience, I think Chief's absolutely right. It would become incumbent upon the developer to bring this to city standards, which I believe it is, and then bring it to council for your approval to accept into our inventory.
Yeah.
Actually, can the developer put speed humps in now since it's a private road?
Private property, they can do.
I don't know, that's what I'm just asking.
I think yes. I think speed bumps it can be put in. The question is that would we accept roads that have the speed humps on it, considering our road standards don't typically require speed humps. So we install speed control devices in arrears, right?
Sure.
This would be a first. I think we could, if council decided to accept it, the answer is yes. I mean, y'all can accept it. You can accept it with all the potholes in it. You could accept it with whatever. Council has that liberty to do so. I think it would be certainly something we can explore further, but I'm not prepared to give an answer to y'all tonight with any certainty other than y'all make the decision.
For you guys over there, when do you think you'll hit this 50%?
Or why don't we bring them?
Is that a year or two, 4, 10?
Yeah, if you'll come to the podium, please. And if you'll identify yourself in relation to the project, I would appreciate it.
Josh Baker, Gray Engineering. I'm the civil engineer on the project. We're expecting to hit the 50% build out probably within 2 years.
Get a little closer.
2 years.
Okay. Are there any amenities that could be installed before that 2-year threshold?
Yes. Well, like Ashley was saying, the amenities are, she won't approve any more final plats until the amenities are installed. So while, I mean, we're going to the Planning Advisory Board this Thursday to start the process of site development plans to get the amenities installed. So, I mean, during that 2-year build out of the 50%, it's going to be at the same timeline of the amenities of, like, it's going to be constructed concurrently.
Okay.
It's not one after another.
Okay.
Well, since you're here, I'll ask a question. I know Ashley has talked about what you all want to do with switching the 2 zones. I mean, what is the motivating factor here to want to, as you mentioned, sewer and some other things, but just from logistically and from what you're designing, what's the incentive to move those 2 locations?
The amenity? The
The
amenity?
7A,
Yeah, 7A and 7B.
Yeah, it's entirely sewer. So sewer comes up through Zone 6, which is the blue zone right there. So sewer comes up through there. So in order to build the amenity in the timeline that we're supposed to, it makes it entirely a lot more logistical to come up through Zone 6 with sewer rather than go through Zone 6 and then all the way through Zone 7 to get to the amenity in Zone 7A.
So you're wanting to move the community amenities or the commercial amenities?
No, community amenities, like the swimming pool, the pickleball for the entire community to Zone 7B.
Okay. Now I got to go back to that slide where you had the three asks, because I got a little bit confused there.
Sure. So the first ask is, again, the amenity center, which is the pool and clubhouse, and then anything else. Again, right now it's pickleball and a playground. The statement of intent called for it to be here. They're asking for it to be here. Staff doesn't have any concerns with that. The second request, which is kind of separate, I mean, they all kind of hinge on each other, because if you're going to move something from here into here, then the houses that were potentially going to be here, they're wanting to move down here, but even more than what was originally planned in that zone.
For the first ask there, I would assume that even the residents of Blue Ridge Plantation would probably want it to be more centrally located, and not on Milford Church, because then you have a lot of other people that see it and probably want to use it. I mean,
Yes,
I'm
we
not
did,
gonna-
we did hear
Yeah.
that at the planning commission.
Yeah.
Many of them supported it being further into the community.
So is this all one ask, or we can say yes to some or no to others, or?
So I would say that the 2 that are in white would be considered minor changes, and staff could do that administratively. you could certainly request that they bring back a revised statement of intent with portions of this or amended language for second reading consideration. But this is all the asks that are in the major change at this point.
Well, if you made the change, if you didn't put residentials in the 7A, what would you do with it?
So 7A is dedicated space for commercial and retail and non-residential uses in addition to the amenity.
I haven't heard that there's any desire for commercial.
Is there, I mean, those squares that are at the bottom of 7A, I'm guessing those are.
No, sorry, you can ignore, this is old property lines.
Oh,
These
okay.
are not out parcels or anything. You just pretend it's a big red block.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, these are old parcel lines.
We're not removing any verbiage about commercial, are we?
Well, by allowing residential in the zone designated for non-residential, you're opening up the possibility
To not
for
have any
no or
commercial.
very little commercial.
We're still very close to the total limit of total units for the total development.
Correct, that would not change.
So we're not, okay, I mean,
It would just be spread out units and no mixed use aspect.
you know, it's my first year on, I heard about Blue Ridge forever. I mean, it's just, there's always been something up there. I mean, I was on planning commission for two terms, yeah. There's always something. And there's been plenty of Blue Ridge people here on different nights. Now, how long have y'all owned the property?
Since 2021.
But you've heard plenty of pushback too over 5 years.
Oh yeah, lots of pushback. I mean, so this request really is to bring an end to the Blue Ridge Plantation pushback of all the residents, everything. We're trying to deliver an amenity, and we're trying to deliver a community that will actually look good when you pass by instead of undeveloped land. And so with leaving commercial aspect up front, I mean, the developers who employ me, they don't do commercial, they do residential. So it's going to be left up as undeveloped land until another buyer comes along, and this area is not a commercial, it's not built for commercial.
With 1,300 homes?
It's, I mean, even with the current homes out there, there's no interest in commercial in this area.
Okay.
So if we say no, how long does it take, how much build time does that add to the pool?
None.
Oh, if we say no, the pool still gets built in 7A on the same timeline? Excuse me.
Well, like
We'd probably do a minor change to
Look, I'm
allow
just
for
trying to-
the amenity to be switched.
Just trying to figure out, where I stand.
I think, as far as a technical issue, you've got the planning commission that looked at all of this and said no, which if we are to override that, it takes supermajority. And Andy, please step in. Just as, just rules that we have to follow as we do these things. I believe if we have any inclination to do separate them out, it's got to go back to the planning commission. Because because as a whole, they said no, and that they would have to relook at it. I'm not trying to be ugly to the folks that you're doing work for right now, but the people who were there prior to y'all were told this is what's going to happen, this is what we're going to have, and to date it has not. And just for the sewer issue, if now y'all are just discovering it's going to take you got to move mountains to get sewer, unfortunately that's on y'all, because I'm sure your folks that's employing you had a period of due diligence, and that's the time you figure out those things.
I think it's valid to note that this entire piece of property has been in, and I don't even know that transition is the right word, but 2002.
Yeah.
And there's at least 3 of us on here that have been dealing with this for the last 25 years. We have seen half a dozen or more developers come and go through this subdivision. And, I understand the angst that some of these people have about, where we're going. I also feel like that the current development company that is working on this right now probably at one point may have saved the subdivision from having an even longer and more drawn out kind of problems up there. And so I think I understand that you've waited a long time and it's due, but I don't know that it's completely fair to dump it all on one company when you've had 6 or 8 that came before them and spun their wheels and ran out of money and moved off somewhere. Is section or zone 8 right now, is that topographical lines that we're looking at?
Yes.
Yeah, here, yeah.
How much of that zone is usable at this point?
All of it.
All of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you were to rewrite their request, would it need to go back through all the process, or could he bring a new request on the second reading?
I think that depends what the change is, and we can certainly run it by the city attorney. I think if it is related to like establishing a minimum acreage of commercial or something related to the 3 asks, it probably would not have to go back. But if you're opening the door to other changes that haven't had the opportunity to have a public hearing, then that would need to go back and have another public hearing. So,
Is there currently a trigger on the commercial?
no.
Okay.
Just for clarification, counsel, Mr. Airwood's already raised this point, but it's going to take a supermajority to override the planning commission.
If we said no to the request as a package as is brought to us, I'm hearing from you that staff would be able to work with them on the 2 elements in white as minor changes without them having to go back through the process potentially. Is that
That is correct.
correct? Well, for me, though, those 2, I haven't heard anything from residents. I certainly would be happy to hear before second reading, anything to the contrary. I don't have a problem with those 2 elements necessarily in and of themselves. I think points been made, the pool and the clubhouse, if anything, that's even more central, locating it for the community, et cetera. And redistributing the units, across the development, that doesn't seem to be a problem, not changing the units, but it does give me heartburn to think about, lowering the amount of non-residential use that has been stated, for a variety of reasons for myself.
We're good.
Well, it don't look like there's 5 votes up here.
No, let's go ahead.
I would just quickly add thank you to you all for coming and sharing your feedback. I would say please tell your neighbors on any of these specifics. I would appreciate, some emailed thoughts, on these items myself. So I welcome that.
All right, counsel. Further questions?
You had a slide that showed recommendations of what you would if we change something. What, can you pull that back
Oh,
up again?
I just was saying if you were comfortable with losing the commercial, that I would recommend considering limiting the attached housing to what was in the 2021 major change, which would be up to 195 units instead of 239. And again, that's just based on feedback that we've heard from public hearing and the portal.
So procedurally, if we wanted to include the commercial component, what does that look like? Do we need to vote this down tonight and then send it back somewhere else? I mean, how does this look?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
Like
If you
If we
wanted,
wanted to have what you just stated,
if you were okay with the second change,
I want to keep the commercial. I think the commercial should stay in there in some regard.
then I would either recommend denial or giving guidance to the developer to prepare amended language.
So it's not,
That
we
would
can't
guarantee.
offer amendment tonight to that language. It needs to go back to the planning commission.
Well, it depends what the change is. I think we'd have to run it by the city attorney.
If I may, my recommendation to this council would be, given the complexity of what we're talking about today, and the problem with jumping from amendment to amendment to amendment, my recommendation is council take action on this proposal as a whole. And if there is something that the developer would like to bring back to staff for consideration, they do so and they go back through the process. Because I think the reason we do this is because there's an opportunity for public hearing. And what happens by default in moving things around and amending it, we lose that public hearing component. So from a staff perspective, my recommendation would be to consider this as a package and vote it up or down.
Are you clear on what we're discussing, Josh?
Yeah.
All right, good.
So, Ms. Cotty, the consequence of a denial or a failure to get an override is essentially a denial at this point. Does that start another clock or process again?
There is no waiting period anymore for a denial of a rezoning or annexation.
So Mr. Baker's group and those that he are working for could begin a process again with you at some point in time?
Yes.
And by way of reminder, Mr. Mayor, the ordinance is to amend. So an action for denial would have to be a motion to deny.
Say that again.
Yeah, say that again.
Need a scorekeeper on this one.
The amendment, or the ordinance to amend the PD is written as for your approval. So if you're not going to approve, you have to move to deny. What gets confusing sometimes is, well, wait a minute. Are we upholding Planning Commission's decision to deny, or are we taking action on the ordinance? Y'all are taking action on the ordinance, not Planning Commission's action, okay?
So we need to put a motion in for denial?
If you do not want this, the motion is to deny.
If we simply vote no, we are denying.
You are, that's right.
Okay.
Oh, the motion.
A no vote,
A no vote
Yes.
is on
And a no vote
denies.
upholds. what
Yes,
the council
that's
says.
right.
Okay, I got you. I'm clear.
Others? Discussion? Comments? Questions? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan.
Mr. Airwood,
No.
Mr. Booker,
No.
Mr. Hopper,
No.
Mr. Lander,
No.
Mr. Bettis,
He said no. Just speak up.
Oh, man.
Mr. Lamb,
No.
Mayor Danner.
No.
They don't want to do commercial.
Council, our next item is the budget. Let's take a 10-minute recess, please. The budget discussion for the year 2026 and 27. This is the first reading of ordinance number 18-2026. It is the City of Greer Budget Ordinance Financial Year 2026-2027, and an ordinance relating to the fiscal affairs of the City of Greer, South Carolina, making appropriations therefore, levying taxes, and to provide for an effective date. With that, I sent you an email over the weekend to give you a little bit of an outline of how I wanted to proceed in this, to make sure that everybody felt like, if nothing else, that they had been heard. And so what I want to do is to engage in that at this point in time. What I am going to do is ask for, in just a moment, a matter of first reading of the ordinance, a motion and a second on that. That way we will open the floor for discussion after that, and anybody that would like to make a statement or share an opinion in regards to where we are in the process of this, I think it would be appropriate. Then after that, we will engage in the discussion of the ordinance before us, and if there are other offerings that you would like to make, we will take those in the order that they are offered. As you're aware, that will take an amendment to the budget, and so we will have to do that by process as well too. So for the purpose of us beginning discussion this evening on the general budget ordinance, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
At this point in time, if anyone would like to address council and/or those that are in attendance this evening, obviously both, the floor is open for comments or anything that you'd like to add or engage in as we start this process.
Mr. Mayor, I've got two things that I would like to bring before council, and some of it's philosophical, other is possibly increasing some funding in a few places. But tonight on the way here, I was paying attention to just the sidewalks and storm drain inlets, and we aren't doing as good of a job as we have and as we should maintaining that. So the first thing for council's consideration, and I mentioned this in one of our budget workshops, if we increase the storm water fund by $1, that will increase the revenue to that fund by 52.5, something like, is that right? Yes, 52.5. Now, in the scheme of things, that's not a lot, but then that allows some mechanization or other kind of modernization on how we do things, where we go from maintaining the sidewalks, the curb and gutter, from how many feet we get done into a day, that there's technology out there that we can measure it in miles. And so that enables that. And of course, that would take an amendment, because we would have to vote to increase the stormwater by $1. The other is in the general fund, we have departments that include the police department and I guess the IT. And these items that I have issues about are items where we we are spending dollars to collect data unknowingly from folks who drive around our streets or walking on the sidewalks or in the parks. And that's license plate readers, it is facial recognition, things like that. And then also we are upgrading our drone program, which is, that in itself can be an issue with privacy, but it seems like a lot of this technology is, okay, next year we've got to add personnel to operate or run this new technology. So on that particular point, I believe it's imperative that council have a much bigger discussion about the collection of data without folks knowing it, because there's arguments on both sides of it, I understand. And that doesn't mean that we have to amend the budget at this point. But I think before dollars are spent that are directed to those expenditures, council needs to have a discussion on what are we going to do with that data? How are we going to store it? What are our rules and regulations? Are we going to resell that data? And I don't think there's anybody on our staff or sitting at this table that wants to do anything like that. But, you know, you can get some bad characters that can abuse that authority. And then when you talk about the collection of data from cameras and things like that, then the question arises, well, where does it stop? Do we want to be in England where you drive through a speed trap and you receive a speeding ticket in the mail? Or in the outback of Australia where nobody is around and you're speeding and bam, they've got you. They send you a ticket. It also, the point can be made that with the data that you're collecting can be used to create a file, any file, just in case. So I think that definitely needs further discussion by council before we start spending dollars to collect data like that.
Thank you. Others?
One of the items that I brought up last time was concerning our golf fees. And I know the reason of the generation of this request is really due to the fact of our membership fees or membership. The folks on the membership list are just sticking around on the list. And I think we need to adjust those fees to maybe inspire folks to kind of come off the list so other folks can be added to it. And so I've talked with our staff. I think they may not be comfortable implementing this on July 1st, but there is opportunity to at least give notice to these golfers that are on the membership list to of a fee change in January or somewhere in the future. So that's one item that that I would love to see us take action on. And the other thing is more philosophical, like Jay. You know, going over the past couple of weeks, looked at strategic plans. I've looked at, you know, the budgets. Looked at the class and comp study most recently. My concern is really around the class and comp study. I know we have taken an initiative to prioritize our personnel, which I'm 100% support. But some of the things in there we've kind of need to be aware of because there is a budgetary implication. I know we recently, I think on May 30th, we're going to be increasing some salaries and creating some more opportunities within fire and police, which is awesome, and to spread those positions out. But when I look at the numbers comparative to the 2027 budget, right now our personnel costs is going to be pushing right at 68% of the general fund. I know if you look at other surrounding areas, you know, you're around that 50 to 60% mark. And so that's a number that I'm looking at, like, you know, we've got to be cognizant because we're going to be, right now, if you look at the class and comp study, it recommended us putting us at the 50th percentile. Hopefully in the future, putting us closer in the next maybe 3 to 5 years, pushing us up to the 60th percentile of, which is, the class and comp study was really good. It was really well written. It took surrounding cities like us into effect, also considered the counties. I liked how it talked about the insurance compensation. I know it said we do really well if you're a single payer, but from a family perspective, which that's the rate I pay, it sometimes becomes a struggle with the cost, and that it said there's opportunities for improvement. But I definitely want us to just be mindful as we implement the class and comp study from a longevity standpoint. We probably should do a workshop. I would recommend us do some type of workshop just to digest that investment that we're making into our employees and understand budgetarily what that implication is. I know if you're looking at from just a personnel standpoint, and there's interest for us to modify millage and things like that, we really need to have the full story of what that looks like 3, 4, 5 years down the road. You know, just a couple points in the class and comp study, it talked about how a little over 50%, 56% of our employees are 29 and younger. So that's, let's see, yeah, 29, yeah, 39 and younger, 39 and younger. That's over half our workforce, and that's going to affect the family aspects because most folks would probably have little children in that range. I know in the next 10 years, it talked about in the class and comp study, about 12% of our force, which is around 40 employees. I know we had one retire tonight, how those folks will be aging out. But I just want to look at it more holistically as we dive into next year's budget and budgets moving forward, that 68% number is kind of, I feel like it's kind of high.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. And we know those costs are going to go up every year. Every year, we're going to have to spend more money. And so we just need to understand, you know, what do we do about it? You know, I know we want to invest in our employees, but we want to, let's have those intentional conversations of what that really looks like and how much of that investment are we willing to truly make. So that's all I got.
Thank you, sir.
Well, looks like we're making our way up the table, so I'll go now. First of all, I want to say thank you to staff. I know it's been a several month process that you guys have been working on this. I appreciate your efforts as always. I was thinking this is the 7th time that I've been entrusted to be part of the budget process, and I think every year about really that, you know, what this process boils down to for me as an elected official, as a member of this body, and you know, our residents, our citizens, we are charged to provide certain core services to them, provide them in a quality way, to the level of quality that they deserve and demand, and to do it in a cost-effective way. That conversation every year looks a little bit different, and as our community has changed, our needs have continued to develop, and what our citizens ask us for have continued to, but those core duties, I think, stay the same, and it's helpful for me to remind myself even of what we're trying to accomplish from that high level view. You know, overall, I'd say I'm very pleased with what's been presented to us. I feel like in many ways, it's been a very restrained budget, and I appreciate that work, the thoughtfulness that's gone into the requests that have been made. I do echo what Mr. Booker has said. I think, that kind of thing we need to take a look at. In various departments in different areas, I actually appreciate the emphasis on different areas of technology and other ways. I think that's important for us to specifically be able to maximize our human capital as we move forward, to make the human capital that we do have that really is a differentiator for us as the City of Greer, the people that provide the services to our citizens. That technology will help us be even more effective and more efficient where our human capital is concerned moving forward. Every year, I think in my, what can we do where the millage is concerned, right? And, obviously that is something that we need to maintain that proper tension. I think not only do we have a responsibility to provide value for what our citizens do pay, but when we can even do that for less to make that happen. And so, leveraging different areas of resources at our disposal, even besides property tax, ad valorem tax revenue, is something I always want us to keep at the forefront. A couple years ago, when I supported, the millage increase, I very much made it clear at the time I wanted that to be a short-term investment in our community in services, in core services, as well as services and facilities that our community was asking us for. Boy, with all my heart, that was the right investment for us to make, still do. I think we're already seeing the results coming from that. And so in future years, I want us to make sure that we're having those conversations, continuing to have those conversations about how we can make it even more cost-effective for our citizens. But for this year, I feel really good about where we are from a health standpoint, from a balance standpoint, and where we're getting revenue to be responsible in paying for the services that we are providing. And so, again, just echoing kind of what you guys have already said, I think, Mr. Arrowood, what you're saying about the different areas of technology and data collection, I do think that's, I'm a very strong believer in individual liberty, liberty and privacy, and that. I think that is something worth talking about. I think I'd love to get more clarification before second reading. I believe there's probably some rules already in place with some of that technology as well, so maybe that can even be clarified very specifically how some of that works for us. But again, I think that will help, if anything, help us in some of the efficiency with the human capital that we have at our disposal. But again, thank you to staff for all your work, and it's an honor to be a part of this process.
Thank you. Others?
I don't think it's any surprise that what my ask is going to be. So, as we continue to grow, I think the value of this mill is going to also continue to grow. And I think we need to be as efficient with our public as we can. And I think we're doing a great job. But with the natural growth of the mill, I think it would be incumbent on us to reduce millage to our taxpayers. There's a lot of good people that work for this city, and I really enjoyed the outcome of the class and comp study. Got a lot of positive feedback from several of our departments. But as I said, the value of our mill is going to continue to grow, and with the last couple upticks in taxes, I think it's incumbent on us to show a reduction, to see where we can squeeze a couple of points out.
Well, I tend to agree with everything that's been said to this point, especially carium. A lot of people will know that that's one of my big horses I like to whip every year, is the percent of the budget that goes to personnel expenses, and 68% is, if that indeed is correct. I haven't figured it on the new one. That's way beyond what it's been in the past. And it has jumped in the last year or two to get to that. 2 years ago, when we went on this journey of increased millage, we were told that when the indication was that revenues were going to allow us to reduce that millage, that we would do that the millage, we could count on the millage being an up and down thing. Well, we started on that journey last year by reducing it to, and my charge to the administrator and all of our department heads would be in the interim to find, it's not a huge amount of money, 2 mills is $650,000 or so, to find your percentage of cutting that 2 mills. Everybody's got a little bit of fluff, a little bit of fat somewhere. In the interim, find your portion of it and cut it out so we can lower it 2 mills for everybody. You can lower the budget amount of dollars. That's not a direct help to any of the citizens. They don't see that. They don't know that. But if their millage comes down, they know that. They see that, and they respond to that.
Well, okay. First, let's see here. In response to surveillance, I'm all in favor of license plate readers. I'm all in favor of drones. I'm all in favor, in buying the cell phone data. That's just, everybody uses it constantly. Unrelated to PD, that's related to no one. How else do we know we could say 5,000 people attended the event? That's because somewhere staff bought the data from somebody else. It might have been Greenville County Rec, it might have been whatever, but unless somebody was just swagging a guess from the sky, from upstairs or somewhere, that's where it came from. So that's totally anonymous. That's just marketing is what it is. Anyway, as far as Mr. Burke and personnel, I tend to agree. We got to do some work there. Now, some of it is because, we have added an awful lot of people over the last, few years. And we've got, tonight, I don't have the number we're adding in this budget.
20,
How many?
is it 22?
22? Okay. So that would put our 6-year growth at 99 according to the chart I got here. That's probably not sustainable either. And now I'll say that, and there are some departments here that need some significant increases. And that probably means somebody might have to lose something. But I guess we're going to fight that battle next year. I do want to, we were given a huge amount of information. So obviously there was a huge amount of work put into all that. So I thank you very much. I mean, they're telling how many thousand man hours have been devoted to this budget process. Not just what was presented to us, but it's got to be way up there. So I do appreciate all that. And I do know that there was an awful lot of back and forth to get to what y'all presented to us. It was not, instantly produced. So I do definitely appreciate that. And I guess that's where I stand. Thank you.
Well, I certainly appreciate all the comments and look forward to our discussion as we move forward this evening. I wanted to share a quote with you tonight. I found this pretty interesting. We haven't grown as fast as some cities, but we have had good, sound, healthy growth. Selfishly, some want Greer to stay the same, but you better want it to grow. The small town feeling is a good feeling, and we've kept that feeling because even though new people are moving here, the old people are deciding to stay. Mayor Worth Barnett. 1976. Mayor Barnett's quote reminded me that some things never change. And that includes that our sole function is providing service. And our sole purpose is to provide a high quality of life for our citizens and our visitors. And so, with all due respect to those that would like to see our millage and taxes decreased, I've struggled mightily over the last several weeks with what we should do to adjust taxes while keeping our ability to offer our core services high. If the reason for lowering the millage is philosophical, and we have heard that tonight, that taxes are inherently either bad or simply too high, how do we determine what amount is reasonable? If 111 is too high, is 109 too high? Is 107 too high? What is too high? The truth of the matter is that we could shift a number of funds into fees with actual escalation clauses triggered every year and reduce millage to less than 100 if we wanted to. The problem then becomes what's too low and what's too high. As good as it sounds, it's inherently unfair to our elderly population, those that live in low income and small households. If our argument is that if 111 is too high, money-wise, then why lower the millage just 2 mills? Median house in Greer now is over $300,000, and to lower millage 2 mills from 111 to 109 represents a cost savings of roughly $50 a year. That's $4 a month. A gallon of gas, $50 a year, a meal for a family of 4. Now, I'm not discounting the fact that for many in our community, it's much more than that. It doesn't discount the fact that saving money is of value and $50 is $50 to a lot of people. Or to discount the cumulative effect, which we multiply by 16,000 households or 3,000 businesses. But I would rather pay the $50 if it means purchasing land for a park in District 6, designing a bridge in District 2, building a park in District 5, etc. I'll close with this. Our staff and administrator have spent months on this budget. And I don't pretend to know the thinking behind every request in this budget. But I do know that every department head and our administrator, and I am confident that this is a good budget. I also realize that council is tasked with approving the budget, and while I don't condone rubber stamping the requests, I also lean to and respect the professional opinion of our staff. For those reasons that I've stated and others, I will be supporting on first reading the budget as presented this evening. With that, the floor is open, council.
I think one of the issues that I have with budgeting, and this is me, from the time I ran for city council, and a long time ago, it's always been about planning. And I agree that about our staff, that they are the experts of running their departments. But I believe I think one of our functions is to say these are the priorities for our city, and not just to have the administrator or department heads trying to listen to us a couple of times a month and figure out what we're trying to accomplish. I think it would be better that we sit down as a council and come up with what we believe are our priorities. Instead of, well, I think that's proper. That way, it makes Mr. Merriman's job easier. It makes all of the department, anybody who's involved in creating a budget, it makes life simpler, because then they know how, or they have a good sense of direction as to how we need to spend our dollars and spend them wisely. Now, that and it doesn't just, we just don't do that. They just don't take that knowledge and apply it to next year. But more than likely, our priorities are not just going to be 12 months. Our priorities are probably going to run, way on down the road. Well, if we agree on 4 or 5 priorities, it doesn't bind any other council to anything, because any plan can be changed at any time. But it does give us a good focus, and it gives us a focus. Well, Department A knows that council wants to do A, but it's going to be a multiple year project. So year 1, we budget X. Year 2, we budget X times 2, whatever, to get us to that end point. And then as far as council goes, it gives us the ability to say, we are here at this one point in time. We want to go down the road and be at this point at a certain point in time. Because we all know good opportunities come along each and every day. And do we take advantage of that opportunity because it gets us down to point B? Or does it take us off on a tangent that puts point B further down the road? And that helps us in our decision-making process. I think that would be very helpful for us as we move forward. I guess everybody has issues with the budget, and as we should do exactly what we've done this year. And I think we always have. We always go through it and make sure we understand it, and then move forward. I'm right now. Well, I guess, Mayor, you mentioned you planned on voting affirmative on this first reading, and I am too. But on the second reading, I would definitely like the things that I brought up to be discussed in bringing forth an amendment and having other discussions about the philosophical things I brought up.
That was actually one of the things that I wrote down here from your first comment on. It was a little surprising to me that the sweeper truck didn't have a dedicated route where we can consistently have that service applied. It was kind of he does what he does, and he's good at it. When I think about taxes, I'm very conservative, so there we go. I always like to compare our rates to other rates, and it gets very complicated. And fact of the matter is, though, we've had some significant increases, and this was before I came to council. So what I've been told is that there was a plan to increase and then to roll those back. What we saw on May, was it the 7th was our first budget, was that we do have a fairly large overage on our reserves. Much more than the, what was it?
650?
650, or, well, it'd be 750. What's the value of the mill? 323? Yeah, 323. So $650,000 is not a hard ask, I don't believe. And I don't think even we have to necessarily even amend the budget to do that. So I'd like to push for some reductions to our taxpayers, show the public that we are working in good faith to go back to the levels that we were.
Unfortunately, on that last comment you made, the levels that we were, as long as I have been a part of the city, going back many years, Greer has always had a reputation, because we rely on the millage, of having the highest number of meals.
Yeah.
The public associates that with the highest taxes. It is not, and so I think one of the things, and I'm not a believer in just tax. But I think when you are doing something because of perception, you probably won't come out with the correct answer. You probably need to make sure that it's backed up with fact. Not saying that you don't have the facts, because I know how you tear through stuff, but I don't know that the rewards that we may try to glean from reducing millage will be the rewards we are necessarily looking for. And that's just me. I mean, it's, the budget is what the budget is, and we've got, once we pass this budget, we just start on the next one. I mean, that's just the way we have to do, and we have to work. And it sounds like that our staff is going to be, our compensation package, we're gonna have to look at all of that, but that's coming up.
We saw that when we were getting presentations, right? So the reason why the mill is more valuable in Greenville is because the home value is more valuable.
Yes.
And the reason why I don't live in an $800,000 home is because I can't afford an $800,000 home. So millage is based on a percentage of home value, which is essentially based on what people can afford, because I don't live in $1 million home, because I can't afford it. So that's what I look at. And you're right. I mean, I'd love to reduce it 14 mils right now, but I'm not going to get that wish. I'm going to hopefully get my 2 and keep on asking for 2 next year.
I mean, as you should. You and I have talked a lot, is you've got to represent your folks and the city, and, I think we all do a good job of that. We may not, well, and I don't think we all should ever agree on everything all the time. So I think we have a lot of good minds up here, and we'll make it work.
Not to be trite, I wish we could reduce it to 0, right? But I think that's the whole point, is this process isn't about wishes. I wish we could provide all the services that we do, core as well as non-core, to our residents for nothing, but that's the tension that is ours to navigate in this whole process on a year in, year out basis, is making sure we are being very careful The millage is by far the most significant, not just philosophically, but in practice. It is the most important, most sobering responsibility that we have, that decision. And so I'm with you. You and I have had a lot of good discussions too, and I think we look at things pretty similarly. That, for a lot of what you said is the reason why I supported a good faith reduction last year, immediately after we had the increase that way. The reason why I feel good about where we are this year, and I'm content to ride at least one more year where we are, is just because of the transition we do have and some of the things that we are looking to implement for our citizens that are coming online, that are already looking to pay dividends, where the Sports and Events Center is on, that's projecting better than we would have ever guessed. I think we're going to have a whole lot clearer picture this time next year of some of the alternate sources of resources that we envisioned 2 years ago when we did make this decision to make a big investment in our community. But again, I don't say what I said tritely about. I think we all know, it takes money to provide the services that our citizens need and demand and deserve. But yeah, I think we all are feeling this tension appropriately, and I think that is ours to feel on a year in, year out basis. And I'll be right there with you this time next year, working to reduce whenever it is prudent.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to make one more point here. If we had 22 more employees, 68% of our general fund currently is salaries, so not going to help that number.
Depends on revenue. Depends on revenue.
Well, there you go.
If revenue jumps, that's how we lowered it a couple of years ago, to a lower percentage. It wasn't because we had lower income levels, we had higher revenue.
Yeah, well, you have growth, natural growth of the mill, we have tax increases, we had reevaluation. Those are all positives.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about the reevaluation being positive. That kind of kicked us this last time.
Well,
one of the things we've got to consider and be careful about, and I know reducing millage, and let's be clear, millage is the only thing that we can control in that tax formalization. Everything else is set by the state, so the millage is the only thing that we can control. I think, to Jay's point, one of the reasons that we have been such a stickler about using millage as opposed to fees and other ways of collecting money is that it's the truest representation of a fair taxation system. And when you start fooling around with using non-recurring funds to make up deficits or to add to the budget, or we start looking at increasing fees as a way of propping up the budget, we've got to be careful in that regard, because to your point just a minute ago, there are cities right in our immediate area that have much lower millage rates. But if you look at their fee structures, some of them are almost exorbitant. And some of them even have built-in adjustments so that they go up 2% every year just as part of their structure. And so I think we've got to be careful and we've got to be mindful, to Charles' point, is that we can only afford the house that we can afford. But we've got to be careful, because shifting things around sometimes may add relief But we've got to be careful who that affects in the long run, because there are people in our community, and there are people that work for us, and there are services that we provide. I think it's kind of interesting where we keep talking about lowering millage and lowering taxes as a way of raising the value of the mill. Well, it certainly does, because that's going to draw more and more growth while we're talking about lowering the number of employees we have. So I'm not clear on how that's going to work. If our goal is to keep growing at a 5 to 7% rate every year or more, how we're going to lower our expectation of how many employees that we're going to need to provide the services that we do now. So it's sort of like tuning up an engine. I mean, you just don't adjust one screw without adjusting 3 or 4 or 5 others to make it run good. So we've got to be careful about how we proceed in terms of what we do or we don't do to make sure that we've got a balanced budget that we can live with.
I would say I'm 100% in agreement. I'm against fees, because fees, my district, it really wouldn't matter. But there's plenty of the city that we'd be shifting a burden to people that we shouldn't be shifting it to. So I'm with you against fees. If we just be straightforward with the millage, and we just, it's just a much more upfront approach. But I don't know anybody's really pushed fees tonight.
No, I mean, the stormwater fee is what it is.
That's the fee.
But if we raise it $1 and, we make enough money on that first year to buy, a $53,000 truck,
Well, anyway, but yes, yeah. Right.
that's good and dandy, but who's going to drive it?
That's not the,
And I know it's not the point,
that's
but
not the point. The point is, if you are going to invest in something like that, it's got to show that the reason we aren't doing some of the stuff we're doing now is because we don't have the total man hours. We've already said we've got a huge amount of labor burden, and we always will, because that's what we do. We provide service. But I think me asking about this $1 increase is solely to give the flexibility to the department head to figure out what they can do, because 52,000 in the scheme of things is not a whole lot, but what do we have that we can either add to or we can add new to our department that will free up more man hours or labor hours, so we can take those freed up hours and do the things we're only doing on a sporadic basis. That's my reason. Now, and I will say this, it is funny for me to think back on some stuff, and when was it, 2009 that we increased taxes? That was right after, or was it 2010? But, that was a tough, difficult time for us to do that, because the economy had tanked, and, people didn't have a whole lot of money, but we had to do it because we went through the exercise. These are the services that we believe that we provide, and that we want to continue to provide. And if we're going to do that, it costs. And those costs never go down. Those costs will continue to go up just because of inflation. And I remember I think I got maybe 1 or 2 telephone calls about that millage increase. And it was a lady, she was elderly, and she said she was on fixed income, and she didn't like it, and she didn't understand. I said, well, if you got about 20 minutes, I'm going to try to explain it to you. And as I went through step by step, I said, we looked at actually eliminating certain departments. Let's eliminate recreation. She said, yes, that's good. I said, well, you know all those parks where we cut the grass and keep it clean? Oh, yeah, you gotta keep maintaining that. She said, well, I said, we looked at administration. And if you wiped it out, that's great. Might balance the budget, but nobody could pay the bills or receive the income that's coming in. And I said, then you got police and fire. Oh, no, you can't cut police and fire. I said, so now you understand. And she said, yes, but I don't like it. I said, you and I are in agreement. And so I think that kind of goes hand in hand with we have to sit down and lay out that roadmap for the city.
Well, I would remind council as well too, and I wasn't on council when this took place, but my predecessor said growth will eventually solve all your problems, but he also had to raise millage 18 mills before he left office. So we need to be cognizant of that as well too.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about the millage discussion. I know last year when we lowered mills, it's a little different dynamic because I think we had a 7% increase in our revenues. Or this year, I think is that correct? About 7% from last year to this year.
8.1.
Well, it was more. I think this year we're like 3%, something to that effect. So, yeah, but if you look at the details, and I kind of dived into just the labor costs, the millage is our only stable source of revenue. The millage is our only stable source of revenue. About $41.5 million is what we're spending on employees. Well, if you look at the numbers of what that equates to from a property tax perspective, take out business license fees, everything else, just the stable millage recoverable money is around $48 million. And so, the math doesn't math quickly if you got to increase police potentially in the next few years. You've got a class and comp study coming up. I'm for the philosophically, how do we reduce the pie? But I think millage is an area that we really need to look hard at because, the implications, because once you take 600,000 out, that's next year, the year after that, the year after that. So I'm a little more hesitant when it comes to the millage discussion, especially when you just look at the hard and fast numbers. It's not, there's not a lot of benefit other than saying that we reduced it, but did we put a burden in the future? So that's why I say having these workshops around our labor force, what we're paying out, really plotting this thing out, what does it look like from a budget perspective of the revenues we take in, is going to be very beneficial, at least for me, moving forward. But as presented, I'm fully supportive of the budget, except for adjusting those fees for sure.
I wouldn't argue the point. I think if you dig into that study, what we've got, 30% of our workforce is over 50 and will be eligible to retire in the next 10 years. We could be losing a third of our employees. Average tenure at this point is, 6.5 years? Average stay on new employees as a whole, I think, or as a generation maybe, is about 4 years. So, from a personnel standpoint, we do need to be aware of what's taking place. Others?
Chris, what was the value of the mill last year? Sorry to put you on the spot.
$294. I believe it was 294 or 313. I believe right now. Is that right, Chris?
Comments? Further questions?
Well, okay, if we're getting close to voting, I want to understand what we're voting on.
At this point, there's not been an offer for an amendment, so we're voting on the budget as presented.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
This is a first and second reading, or,
It's first reading.
I mean, it goes into
Two
second
readings,
reading, right?
Yeah. Floor is open for discussion.
I'd like to offer an amendment. Are we ready to do that?
If you'd like.
I would like to make it an amendment, go ahead and put it in form, to ask the administrator to find 2 mills in the existing budget to lower that millage.
We need to second it?
Absolutely.
It will require, I'm writing, it will require a second if it's going to go to a vote.
Okay. So moved? Second?
Okay.
Something, one of the two? I don't know.
Yeah.
Mr. Bettis, is your amendment just face value says, ask the administrator to find $650,000 that's equivalent to 2 mills?
Exactly.
Okay, is that saying that if he does that, then we apply that to the budget for second reading, or is it he just reports back to us?
I think you would bring it on the second reading.
If the motion is to ask for a reduction in 2 mills in the budget, is that, you're asking for the budget to be reduced by 2 mills, correct?
Yes, correct.
If that passes, it would supersede the budget right now as presented.
Okay.
My calculator.
There is an amendment to the 26-27 budget that calls for a reduction of 2 mills. We have a motion and a second in that regard.
Chris, can you tell us what the, can I ask Chris for something?
Mr. Klein, yes.
What is the value of the, sorry, never mind, it's a bad question.
So we have the motion and a second. We will, need to we have a motion and a second on the amendment. We'll need a vote on the amendment.
Discussion first.
Any discussion? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to, we've got a motion and a second. Floor will be open for discussion on the amendment. Correct?
Couldn't hear you.
The amendment has a motion and a second.
Now discussion.
We will need discussion prior to a vote on the amendment, correct? Okay. Have a motion?
Just to clarify it, as I said before, if I were charged with doing it, I would go to my individual heads and give them a figure or a percentage to find within their individual budgets. In other words, you're letting them prioritize their money.
Others?
Mr. Merriman, from a clarification, we've the millage discussion, the 111, that applies to virtually just the general fund balance. The other items mostly would be allocated towards specific items. Is that correct? So if I've got 111 meals and we're reducing it to 109, that only applies
The general fund.
to the general fund,
Yes, sir.
where a lot of our labor costs come from,
Well,
and some other
a
things.
lot comes from there, but also with labor, we also we lump everything into the general fund, and then we bill back, and there's also offsetting revenues that pay for a number of our employees as well. So I think it is important to remember that 68% is 68% if you pack it all into the general fund. However, we have an overall budget of over $90 million, and so we have revenues that come in that cover some of those costs as well. But to answer your question, a millage reduction applies to the general fund.
So we reduce it from, was it 48 million to 40, what does that number pan out to?
Less $668,000.
Yeah.
Chris, I did a little bit of math here. I was hoping you could check it. What would the millage rate be to equal our income from last year?
That's none of it.
Assuming no growth?
Yeah, well, the natural growth of the mill, right? 323, 294.
That does reflect our year-to-date revenue.
No,
What he's saying is if we applied effectively last year's revenue
Yeah,
to this year's budget,
yes. And the difference between the actual
it
natural
would
growth.
be a 4.4% reduction or so between last year and this year, because that's how much growth we saw in the budget. Is that right, Chris? About,
Yeah, that's 8.3%, yeah. Be 100.7.
And now when you say 4.4, are you referring to the overall 91 or just the general?
our overall budget increased.
Sorry.
And the reason I'm asking is because if we adjust the millage, it doesn't necessarily apply to some of these funds. It only applies to certain
Not apply to
aspects of it.
restricted
Yeah,
funds.
so that's why
Yes.
I want to make sure.
Other questions?
Well, I guess my position, if we do this, I don't want the city administrator just to have that charged and with no restrictions. I mean, that's why we pay him the big bucks to figure out where to find it at. Some places are better than others to find it at. He knows that.
Okay, clarify that.
I think what I'm hearing Mr. Lamb say, Mr. Airwood, is that if this passes, the amendment passes, and then subsequently the budget is amended based on this amendment, that I would bring back a new recommended budget, just like I did with this one, with 2 less mills. Therefore, I would go back through and scrub it, removing what we, as administration, would deem appropriate
Right.
for this
Okay, I
council to
understand.
consider.
That's just,
It could be very as easily as a by department haircut, or it could be a couple projects that we just would eliminate.
Gotcha,
Could even be a fund balance transfer.
gotcha.
Mr. Best, philosophically, we're definitely on the same page. I guess I'm curious, is there something about that 2 mills? Is that just making a good faith.
Nothing magic, I'll
whatever.
go 3. 4, if you can spot it.
Well,
2 is, I just don't.
to my point earlier, why not all of it? No, I'm just kidding.
The problem is that it stems from this was such a severe jump up in 1 year. And the best we can hope for now is to whittle away at it. That's my opinion.
Sure,
This may or may not be a good year to whittle, but it doesn't hurt to look.
sure, fair enough.
But now, okay. You said to look,
Yes.
okay. And I wholeheartedly agree with that, as we should each and every year. But your amendment is to find it and cut it. That's reduce it. There's no.
That's what I call looking.
Okay, so you look at it, no matter what it is, and then you cut it. That's what you want to do. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Others? Questions? Comments? Discussion? The amendment offered by Mr. Bettis and seconded by Mr. Lander to reduce the budget by 2 mills at the administrator's behest. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
No.
Mr. Booker,
No.
Mr. Hopper,
No.
Mr. Lander,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
No. Fails 4-3.
Now we're on to the main motion.
First reading of ordinance 18-2026. We have a motion in that regard.
I think we already did, didn't we?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the budget for first reading as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Well, we've already got a motion.
Yeah,
Oh, motion is second.
Yeah, we already got that there.
It exists.
The- Okay. I have 2 things that I brought up, and I really wasn't, I thought it would be best for second reading that if we put these 2 items forward at that point. But I mean, if we want to, I can make an amendment.
I think it is appropriate that if you want to add an amendment to the ordinance as it is right now, would probably be appropriate
Okay,
tonight.
the first amendment would be to increase our stormwater fund by $1. And those dollars would be earmarked for mechanization or whatever kind of upgrades that help us do the job we're supposed to do. It should save, the expenditure should save labor hours and do the things that we are to accomplish anyway.
Not sure you want to,
That's a long amendment.
I mean, if you just want to
Well,
get them more money,
no.
give them the discretion, you know?
No, I think because we haven't done planning, or this is my attempt to try to help. And when I said on the way here tonight, I drove by sidewalks and storm drain inlets. The only thing that's really pristine is when you get into downtown. The sidewalks there are no weeds. The storm drain inlets, they're not clogged with debris, or not, they don't have grass growing out of them. In the rest of the parts of the city, we do. And that's not, if we want to be a leader, we need to look like a leader. If we're going to have company coming to town every day, we need to be looking like companies coming to town every day.
You want your dollar earmarked for more labor to do that?
Nope, didn't say more labor. I said more technology that reduces total labor hours, so then you can take the labor hours that you have saved and put them on projects that aren't being either done at all or they're not being done on a consistent basis. So if you've got, let's take the sidewalk that you and I talked about down there in front of
Well,
Sudeth Farms.
question, first we gotta get the motion straight and get a second.
Well, I'm trying to do that. So you want to help me with it, and that'd be fine.
Well, is this gonna be shorter, or he can't write it all down?
All right, let's, yeah, okay, so
I understand what you're asking for.
We just gotta get something.
we do need additional help on this in terms of clarification, because you're just saying $1.
Yep.
Is this,
So $1 is going to generate approximately $52,000 bucks.
but
Yes,
it'll
yes.
also increase for new homes by $1 and for businesses by fee? We do businesses by fee, do we not? Mr. Grant, can you help us on this, please, sir?
No, this is, the $1, regardless of how it is, I understand how the stormwater fee is calculated. But if you increase the stormwater fee by $1 on every tax notice, whether it's residential, commercial, or industrial, generates the $52,000 and some change.
Oh, I think I see what the mayor's question is. There's a little bit of calculation has to go.
Well, the
with that.
calculation that I think the mayor's referring to is is it the stormwater unit or the impervious unit? The ERU, that's it.
But the reason we've only got 16,000 residents and 3,000 businesses. That only generates 20,000.
Some of the properties are more than one ERU.
Commercial.
Yes, sir. So it would go up per ERU. So some of the commercial properties would have.
That's what I
would
mean.
go up $6.
The
So that's how
the
you-
fee is going to go up.
Yeah.
Okay,
$1 per unit.
okay, okay. Sure.
So a business that's paying, what the business pay, $30, 30, what's
It's
30
$30.
units?
An ERU is $30. So if you've got, you're a larger property and you've got 10 ERUs. Yes, that.
Yeah. So it'll be much higher on the commercial businesses than it is a $1 fee on a house.
Yes, it always is.
Okay, so that's how we come up with $52,000?
Yes.
We in discussion right now? or-
We're still in discussion, yeah.
Well, we don't have a second.
We don't have a second. Okay.
Try.
So you want to increase the stormwater fee by $1 per residence and
Per ERU.
Per ERU.
For ERU.
PRU.
Yes.
Comes as a motion from Mr. Arrowood. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Booker seconds. Floor is open for discussion.
I'll ask, so the areas that you're talking about that need work, do we know that they are our infrastructure, our gutters, drains, et cetera?
Well, in my opinion, we already do work on DOT properties, just because if we want it done, it's got to be done. From plowing snow to just cleaning off how bridges collect all the silt and debris, we do that. We try to run the sweeper truck all the way down 14 and back, because it just, and most of that is out of the city. But our residents don't make the distinction. They say it's Greer.
Yeah.
And if it's looking bad coming in, it reflects on our city. This is not the best method to do it. But it's the only method I have at this point. But yes, it would allow us, it should, I think, allow us to be able to do certain things all the time that we need to be doing.
Have you spoken with administration or staff to identify we would spend $53,000 on XYZ that's going
Yes,
to help us?
I have, over the last couple of years, talked to administration, staff, general conversations with council. The $1, it was just let's just see. Because I know that in my studies of, okay, what can you get? There's a lot of things out there that you can get to add to our equipment, our platform, whatever it might be. So we are running a sweeper truck every day. So we don't have sidewalks that look like a footpath because grass is growing in on both sides. And the only reason it's not in the middle is because people walk there. That's the purpose behind the whole thing.
Fully automated street sweeper. I just looked it up. It's 450 grand.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about implements that we can add to existing platforms.
Oh, no, I'm just giving you a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
final,
no,
a good
no, and
final
we
solution.
have a street sweeper. All I'm trying to do is free up labor hours.
That's what I'm
So
giving
this
you.
does it more efficiently, so we don't need to add any additional
Employees?
employees?
No.
You just hook it up to our street sweeper right now?
No. Street sweep, I don't want to be specific because I don't want to be seen as a micromanager, but I'm just going down this rabbit hole. We have a piece of equipment that we can attach it's basically a edger on steroids, and it has a blower that goes along with it, and you probably can get into that for about $5,000. But then what that does, you spend $5,000, right? Now, if we send somebody out to do just maintain a mile of sidewalks, right? So we're going to send a truck and 3 people, and it's probably going to take 8 hours. Where this one implement can do it in a matter of minutes with one person. You may have to have somebody tailing along, but you go from looking at your productivity being feet to miles.
Let me understand. So edge and sidewalks is stormwater?
Yes, because part of the sidewalks and I guess not the weeds or the debris, whatever, it affects the way the stormwater runs. So that's why I chose to go that route with
That
it.
covers 2 or 3 birds with one stone, I mean.
Yeah.
I think where I'm getting hung up on this, Mr. Arrowwood, I'd very much understand and appreciate and agree with with the point you're making. I think my trouble is while in this year for first reading, I'm not comfortable supporting what feels like an arbitrary 2 mil reduction. This would represent, in essence, a tax increase as well, rather than a tax decrease. And I don't think I'm not personally comfortable with that
I
either.
respect that. I understand that because whether you call it a fee or a tax, it's, comes out of the same pocketbook of the residents.
And you
yes.
make a good point, like it's $1, but at the same time, I think a lot of what we're talking about is philosophical here, and philosophically, it's $1 more we're taking from our residents.
Whatever that gizmo is, it looks like it'd be easier to just put it in the lease purchase contract.
That's a possibility. I mean, I understand all of that.
Mr. Airwood's amendment is to increase the stormwater fee by $1 per resident and appropriately by ERU as well, too. Questions?
Now, in your amendment, does our staff have the flexibility to figure out what this
Yes,
efficiency is? Okay.
that's exactly right. Because I believe that our staff is more than capable of doing that. And that goes back to a bigger issue about employment. We can talk about that as, at a later time. But yeah, I think that we have staff that can figure that out.
I think it's an interesting question in light of the fact that we're relying on technology to take care of our sidewalks, but there has been some implication that it's not worthy if it's the police department or fire department using the technology.
Well, here's my response to that, is that let's just take the technology, the data gathering stuff. How does that save labor hours? That's the question I have. And then
I'll give you a pretty good example that we saw when we were in Spartanburg. They identified a crime that took place in a park and had him arrested before he got to the next stoplight.
Yeah, I understand that. However, we are not Spartanburg. They have a whole different, their crime rate is totally different. And it may be necessary, but my point is we haven't been shown that it's necessary. Our crime rate basically stays the same. That's, I mean, that's I guess I'm a show me kind of person. How does spending another $400,000 or $500,000 on these things that supposedly help? Well, how does it help? How does it increase our person-to-person contact with people who've had a crime? How does it help us do anything and the only thing I can see is it's going to be adding more and more dollars to our budget, because we know that some of this technology has to be upgraded. And that's why we're at this point anyway. We're at the end of a contract and upgrading the technology. But I can't see how it might. But we haven't been shown that.
I don't intend to troll or be argumentative, but wouldn't the very same argument be made about the whatever equipment you're talking about to trim, like upgrading that technology? I mean, any technology or automation or whatever.
Yes, but you can look, I can't see what you're trying to show me.
It's a street Roomba, basically.
It's a street Roomba.
A street vacuum cleaner.
No personnel needed.
That's exactly
Runs 24/7.
That's exactly right. But anyway,
Okay, all right.
But what I'm saying, Mayor and Mr. Hopper, is that, yes, you will have to maintain that piece of equipment. But when it goes and it frees up labor hours, because if you look, just like I said, if it takes 3 personnel to go out to trim a sidewalk, and it's a mile, let's use that, well, we probably, it's going to be an entire day with a piece of equipment. And I'm not saying go buy it. I'm just saying you need to look for things like this, that you increase that 8 hours from the productivity from linear feet to linear miles. So therefore, even the person, once they're done, they can go and do something else. The other parts of what would have been their crew can be doing something else. It's the same thing with, we can put lawnmowers out here that takes one person to operate. You bring them out, you unload them, that person is there while they're working, picking up trash, maybe doing a little, and then they load themselves back. You don't have people riding on them. And all that technology is there now. I mean, it's not like this is new and exciting stuff. It's there. It's all out there.
All right, Mr. Mayor Woods made has asked for an amendment, and Mr. Booker seconded to increase the stormwater fee by $1 a residence and $1 per ERU. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I will say, considering your amendment, I am very interested to see what efficiency looks like. I know when our staff got up here to speak about the work they're doing, and one of the things he mentioned was if he had more staff or, he could, tackle more things. The only hesitation I have is really would like to hear a little more background to see from an implementation standpoint what it would look like. So, I mean, yeah, maybe not this budget year, but future budget years, we could have that discussion.
Gotcha.
Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
No.
Mr. Hopper,
No.
Mr. Lander,
No.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
No.
Mayor Danner.
No.
My next amendment.
All right.
No, it has to do with this technology that we're wanting to purchase that gathers data. And if I had my druthers, we would just take those dollars and apply them elsewhere. But if we don't want to do that yet, we could freeze that spending until council has a much larger discussion about data that we're gathering from folks, how that data is going to be handled. Are we going to sell it? Are we going to, what are we going to do with it?
What are those dollars? Do we know what the dollars
Just
are?
PD is like $500,000, right?
PD's, I believe, the existing contract, which you can't go by, but by just a benchmark, I think it was a $580, $540 annual. I'm looking, what was it, Chris, 540, 580 for that Axon?
Black cameras that Lee's talking about, is a separate line item. Separate item than the.
Well, let's just go with the Axon. So the Axon, I understand what you're saying. The Flock is something different. But the Axon, the proposed contract has it at $930,000, is that right? Looking at my
Yes.
book? Okay, and then the previous one was 540, 580, I think 580 previously. But the point is that that contract is over because they're phasing out the 7 series of the tasers. We have to upgrade to the 10s. There's some things that are going to have to change, so that number will change.
I'm not saying that we don't need to upgrade this stuff.
And what I'm telling you is just to answer Mr. Lander's question is right now that additional, what we know is we will have a $930,000 a year annual, but it was for everything we had before plus the other stuff.
Just from my conversations with Jay, I don't think he's talking about that. He's talking about the cell phone data.
Well,
Wait, if it's the
all
Placer AI,
It's all the data collection, because I think Jim answered the question about the facial recognition software. It is a philosophical question. There's two things at play in rolling around in my mind. Is that one, we haven't been shown as this great need that we have for this data collection. And then we haven't been shown, well, what happens next year and then the next. And I know that that Matt has, or the police chief has spoken about having this room that's live data being fed from our cameras and from cameras that I think maybe other businesses have allowed us to use, and it feeds this data in there. And in my mind, I'm thinking, that's just the NSA watching us. And
if we have an issue where if we have something going on that's criminal at a rate that this is going to help, then I need to know that. But I got it that you can buy this data, but even when it's not about buying it from somebody, it's about what we're going to do with it. Are we going to resell it? Because it will have value. I mean, that's that's how that works. Are we going to keep it? And how are we going to protect it? And what are we going to do if somebody hacks our system and gets the data that we have collected? And
Mr. Mayor, I'd ask for you to rule that this is not germane to the budget. I know what you're trying to say, Jay, but you got to say it something we can act on.
Well, is this system, if we buy this system, who is the actual data collector? It wouldn't be us, would it? We wouldn't have that
Correct.
capability.
Yeah.
This Axon is probably the data collector also. right?
Mr. Bates, yeah, so we are talking about a number of things to Mr. Lander's point. So, and I think that this question came up not only in the police department's presentation on the 14th, but it also came up on the 21st when we discussed Parks, Recreation, and Tourism, specific to the Placer AI, where we're collecting cell phone data to see where they've been geolocated and where they're coming from, et cetera. So the data exists in a number of different places. And so we're talking about different policies, for lack of a better term, on how that data would be used from a department to department standpoint. And obviously, the PD can speak much more intelligently about how they intend to use any data that was received through flock cameras, license plate readers, et cetera, just as Parks, Recreation, and Tourism could talk about how they would use any data collected through Placer AI. Or, even with, in IT, having an AI chatbot on our website to help navigate for folks. There's varying levels of data that's collected and how that data is used. So to Mr. Arrowood, to your point, if your concern is having council fully understand how that data would be used, there's nothing precluding council from passing the budget with the items included. However, we won't execute any contracts until council has an opportunity to ask these questions. And that's what I was saying, that we can freeze those funds until council has had a thorough discussion and put together some kind of policy with the help of staff of what we're going to do with this information and how far is it going to go. I mean, who knows tomorrow what's going to be out there where we can grab this information. We talk about drones, and I gave you the example today of how somebody misused one locally and was, looking at things he shouldn't have been looking at. Wasn't any of us.
Are you making a motion to?
I'm making a motion.
To pass the budget as it is, but hold those funds aside until further discussion?
Yes, and with all technology.
But our contract is expired.
No. What is the status of the contract? When does the Axon contract expire?
The tasers expire now.
2 years.
We have to.
For the body-worn cameras and then the in-car technology, et cetera. With all due respect, this should have been brought forward long before budget. I mean, if our tasers are out of date, or whatever, this should, gathering information, and I don't have an issue with the tasers. I don't have, issues with body cameras. We have been a leader in body cameras. And I think that's, and in-car cameras and stuff like that. The rub comes for me is collecting this data. That's, do we want to be like China and have 1 billion cameras watching us? And I know that's going to generate some giggles, but, there's nothing there now that says, well, next year we're going to spend $1 million on cameras and put them all around.
All right, so your motion is what, so we can gather a second?
Okay, let's just, the motion I'm going to make is that
in the departments that want to purchase this technology used for data gathering needs to be frozen until council has had a chance to discuss what we believe should be done with this data.
Mr. Airwood, just for clarification's sake, we capture all types of data
I
from
understand.
department to department, everything from EINs with businesses to social security numbers with our employees. There's a number of things that we have to, we capture. That can be broadly construed by staff as every bit of technology that captures any type of data would be frozen in this budget without council's consideration. And I think if we're going to go that route, I would certainly like some clarification on what that looks like.
Well, we're talking about this budget. We're not talking.
We are talking about this
what
budget.
we're doing.
We are talking about this budget, but I mean, I think every bit of technology, I mean, even with some implementation from software and finance, there's a number of things that would be proprietary that could be construed as personal data or some sort of private data that.
Well, so be it. I mean,
Okay.
that's.
So you gotta freeze the
I
whole
think
budget?
I think Mr. Merriman's Mr. Merriman's asking you to be specific about which data.
Well,
You're talking about third party.
no, we're,
Data gathering.
well, we have facial recognition software, so that's us gathering that.
Sure.
We gather the information on license plate readers. We have that. Well, that's two big things. That's what caught my attention about all of this, is that where does it end? And I know the police chief would love to have that room with live cameras from all over the community. That's just not a place that I want to live. I don't want Big Brother looking over my shoulder.
Well, Mr. Airwood, I would agree with you. I would be in favor if council, not, in the future, because it would take a while to be developed, some kind of data retention program or whatever y'all.
Policy.
I do think, Mr. Lamb, a holistic approach to how we handle data might be helpful from an education perspective for council, if that would help. I think what's being presented in this budget, specific to Axon, specific to Placer AI, specific to chatbots on the city's website that helps navigate, and all points in between, have value to the city from an operational and effectiveness and expediency perspective, and that's how it made it through the budget process through administration. This is our recommended budget because of best management practices. I think with Axon in particular, over the 5-year period of time, by making this change, we get more for our dollar and will actually save money in the long run. So this is all part and parcel to those recommendations.
Your arguments are correct, but it's never been told to council how this, because what we hear from the PD, and it's not just now, we've heard it for many years, is we don't have enough staff. Okay, so now we're going to spend an additional money. Let's grab a number, $300,000. It's going to be in addition to what we've already been spending, because, and all we're talking about is that one contract, right? Well, nobody has shown me, if we've got these 2 drones sitting on a launch pad, how that's going to save dollars by adding. Nobody has shown me how that provides either replacement for actual manpower, how it will not require us to add more and more people as we move down the road, and what is the basic need for it right now anyway? We hired a recruiter, but yet we still have an issue with we can't fill spots in the PD. I'll say this one other time. This is my final chance to try to get some planning in place. We haven't we are being asked to approve things almost on an immediate basis. We just heard that the contract, we've got to have this because this is expired and this is going to expire, and kind of puts you on the hot seat. That's not the way that we are efficient and we provide the best service.
Your motion is in the departments that collect data, funds would be frozen regarding the collection of that data?
Yeah. Talking about the dollars that will be spent out of this budget, not things that are already in existence.
Non-actionable motion. They can't do that.
Freeze the money.
Are we going to say council approves or council is updated?
That ain't what he said.
Well, I think council needs to have a discussion about this data collection and what do we do with it? How far is it going to go?
What unfreezes the money?
What's the criteria to unfreeze?
To unfreeze is once that council's had a chance to look over everything, and are we good with it? What is
So
the benefit?
you're saying
Are we-
approve it?
Yes.
Mr. Merriman, do you think we could, during the next reading, have a presentation of these various data collection pieces and how they use them, how we use them, where they get stored, that kind of thing?
I think we could pull some together. I do believe that Mr. Arrow would preface the whole discussion with that this is a philosophical discussion. And I don't know that anything we provide will alleviate philosophical concerns. Now, that's speculative on my part, and I'll be glad to provide something that might articulate that. But from a budgetary perspective, we're making the recommendation from a dollars and cents standpoint. What we've put into this budget have been vetted. We batted this around philosophically from a staff perspective, and we are not doing anything above and beyond what is not already a best management practice by, I dare say, 75% of cities of our size nationwide. So that's why we feel comfortable with this analysis. I do think it would be a little bit of a challenge to figure out what level of sensitivity this council may have on what exactly would be data that needs to be protected. I can assure you that all data that we do take in, we protect through our own internal policies that would be subject to, the new technology would be subject to those very same policies.
Well, I see a lot of value in, Ann's department uses Placer. I see the value in the police having access to that data, but I also understand, Jay's concern of that data escaping somehow, and that's why we have the best of the best right there.
Let's be clear, too, that we're talking about police departments collecting data in an environment where most, if not all, protected in some regard, is available to the public anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
You can go buy it on Google right now.
But is that the best way that we spend our dollars? We're talking about best management practices.
I can walk in the police department right now and ask for the records on somebody's arrest.
Sure,
that make a
No, I understand all of that. But there's two parts to this. One, philosophical, but two, we haven't been shown this makes us efficient. In my point, or my view, is that it is, it's great if we need it. It's kind of a what if kind of deal.
I took your word that machine was efficient. I've never seen one work.
Well, okay.
Police use drones constantly to find lost people, to find suspects in fields, woods.
No, 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 I know
The
that.
drones work pretty good.
All right, here we go. Mr. Airwood's offered an amendment. That reads, in the departments that collect data, funds will be frozen in the 2026, 2027 budget until council approves the use of the money. Is that your
Nope.
understanding?
No, that's, I was talking about the dollars that's been allocated or put forth in this budget to be frozen, that we don't make those expenditures.
That's the 2026,
Don't.
2027 budget.
Right.
You want them pulled out?
No, it's
Okay.
freeze it.
That's what he said.
Until we have a written policy governing
It-
that activity, what?
I
Said
think,
until council approves
yes.
the funding.
Yes.
In the departments that collect data, funds that would be frozen in the, excuse me, let me start over. In the departments that collect data, funds would be frozen in the 2026, 2027 budget until council approves the use of the funds.
Okay.
Is that new funds or all funds?
New funds.
You know, you better put.
That ain't what you said.
Yeah, you better put new in there because that,
Well, he's got it in
That's
there
pretty
about the
broad.
budget.
Yeah, that just froze.
yeah, but continuing money for old data.
People
or-
can't come pay their
is-
fines.
Is in this budget also.
I think you need to be specific on which data you want to freeze.
Oh, that's true.
The amendment reads, in the departments that collect data, funds will be frozen in 26, 27 budget until council approves the use of the funds. Mr. Airwood makes the motion. To hear a second.
I'll second that.
Floor is open for discussion.
As written, the amendment is, I don't know how they would survive. And couldn't be signing up somebody to play soccer without,
We're not gonna wait 3 months to figure this out.
well, I mean, the way it's written, they can't come pay fines.
It's not gonna stop what they're doing now.
That's not what we said there.
Yeah, it's new money.
It doesn't say that.
You should say that.
That's not what the motion was.
What's that the budget in 26, 27? So that's
would-
new
But
dollars.
that includes
Specifically,
Everybody said-
money for old stuff too.
I think we just
That's what I was trying to tell you.
I don't know how else to word it, except that I believe that, well, I've already made my points. If it's new technology or adding to the technology where we're gathering data.
well, maybe can we name the two specific concerns where it's the Placer subscription in Parks and Recreation, and it's the technology package, the new technology package in PD? Are there any other
Well, IT
programs
does.
IT?
Yeah, I guess that's where it's coming from, the facial recognition.
Is that part of the PD package, the new facial recognition or whatever? No? Okay, name the three.
IT. No, that came from IT, right? Facial recognition?
And we don't have any,
Yes.
What I mentioned in the workshop was that these cameras have the ability to do AI searches. That includes license plate recognition. It could also include facial recognition, clothing that's being worn. If someone walks into a specific area, like for example, the 5th floor on the parking deck, if a car drives up there, this AI technology can alert dispatch to say, there's a car there in an area that should normally be vacant. So it's part of a larger package, not one specific piece that we can be.
Yeah, and I understand, but, Jim just said it could be part of a larger package, so where does that end? That's the whole thing. And it hasn't been shown to me that this is needed, that kind
All
of
right.
thing.
I think then we've got the right motion. In the departments that collect data, Funds will be frozen in the 2026, 27 budget until council approves the use of the funds. Seconded by Mr. Bettis. Any further discussion? Questions or comments? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
No.
Mr. Hopper,
No.
Mr. Lander,
No.
Mr. Bettis,
No.
Mr. Lamb,
No.
Mayor Danner.
No.
Aren't you glad we're not talking about housing tonight?
Let's put that back on.
We have a motion and a second in regards to the City of Greer budget ordinance fiscal year 2026 and 2027.
Move to previous question, Mr. Mayor.
One mil. An amendment to do that.
You might want to ask the question. But do we have, let's see, we have a
I think we get the same reaction.
We have a motion and second on the budget.
motion, let's see,
4 no's will still be.
motion by, let's see, that was the amendment.
The 3 yeses will be the same.
When you opened it up, we got a motion and a second.
We've got a motion and a second on first reading of ordinance number 18-2026, and that was made by,
First was by Mr. Airwood, second was Mr. Lamb.
I forgot, but
I'd like to make one more motion.
okay.
I'd like to ask the city administrator to find savings for 1 mil reduction in taxes.
We may have to have a break.
That's the last ask.
Could you repeat that, please? I couldn't hear you.
A 1 mil reduction. $323,000.
Mr. Lander wishes to make an amendment to the budget that it be reduced by 1 mil at the discretion of the administrator.
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
I don't think any discussions needed.
I mean,
Up on that soapbox.
No.
we all know what we want to say on that.
Mr. Lander makes a motion, seconded by Mr. Bettis, that at the discretion of the administrator, the amendment would be to reduce the current budget by 1 mil. Floor is open for discussion.
How'd you come with 1 mil?
If I can't get 2, I'm not going to ask for 3.
Good answer.
Is it just philosophical?
Yeah, I think
Wanted
it's,
to get inch in that direction?
I think every single year we should be inching in that direction.
Others? Comments? Questions? Further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan.
Mr. Airwood,
This is on the amendment, correct?
On the amendment, 1 mil reduction at the discretion of the administrator.
No.
Mr. Booker,
No.
Mr. Hopper,
No.
Mr. Lander,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes, to support my buddy.
Mayor Danner.
No. Fails.
Yeah, it looks that way, yeah.
First reading of ordinance number 18-2026, the City of Greer Budget Ordinance Fiscal Year 2026-27. An ordinance relating to the fiscal affairs of the City of Greer, South Carolina, making appropriations, therefore levying taxes, and to provide for an effective date. Mr. Airwood and seconded by Mr. Lamb. Floor is open for discussion. Questions? Comments? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Lander,
No.
Mr. Bettis,
No.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. First reading passes. We have no items listed for executive session.